Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we'll masach the Sotah daf Chaf Aleph. We're going to begin on Chaf Aleph Abad Aleph by the two dots about 7 lines from the top. So we did mention there was a machlokus that even if she is guilty, if she has a schus, that the Sotah will actually not take effect until a later period of time, 3 months, 9 months, 12 months, or possibly 3 years. The question is, what was the schus? Schus to mine. Elim is schus to Torah, maybe because she learns a lot of Torah, so she's not mechuyev b'davar. As Rashi quotes the pasuk, the mitzvah min Torah is to teach your sons, and there's not a chiyuv deraisa to teach daughters. We know gadol misha mitzvah yaisa, misha ena mitzvah yaisa. So therefore, it's hard to imagine that the schus of her learning Torah, which is a voluntary act, that she's going to get saved from. So ena mitzvah yaisa he el schus de mitzvah. She probably did a lot of mitzvahs. So schus de mitzvah mi megana kol yahayin does really protect you. Lasanya as zu darish menachem bar yosi. The pasuk says kiner mitzvah Torah that the candle mitzvah Torah is light. Tola kosav is a mitzvah b'ner. So there's a connection doing a mitzvah to a candle. There's a Torah b'or. So both of them bring optimism and brightness into the world, but each one is different. That's a mitzvah b'ner. What's the connection to a candle? Loimacha maner enu megina el lafi shah mitzvah enu megina el lafi shah. You can light a candle, and it does give you light, but it's only temporary because that light will eventually extinguish when the candle burns out. So too when it comes to the schus of mitzvahs. However, that's a Torah b'or. Torah is like light. Light is something which is forever. So therefore, Torah is also. And furthermore, the pasuk says in Mishlei, his halachacha tanche osach v'gaimer, which is a pasuk that we quote also at the very end of a siyum, that as in your travels it will protect you. Behis halachtecha tanche osach zeh hayom haza. It's going to provide for you in this world. B'shach b'chav tishmar lecha, and while you lie down, it will protect you. Zu misa v'chisaisi hitisichecha, and also it will be in your speaking. Says Rashi, tolitz ba'ancha as sechuscha will also lavoi. That will continue even in the future. Mashal adam shahayim mahalach v'yishan lo'yav. Person's traveling in the pitch black. Misyarim min hakaitzim min hapsach min hapchasim min habarkanim. He's afraid. It's very similar to Gemara Megillah about a blind person. So you have a person who is afraid of thorns and holes and all these obstacles. And also wild animals, min halistim, bandits. He has no idea which way to go. So nizdamnalo avuka shalor. Once he comes across a piece of fire, a torch of fire, nitzel min hakaitzim min habchasim min habarkanim. He's protected from all these obstacles. Now, a fire may not necessarily help him totally, because even though, just like this is what a mitzvah does, it protects you a little bit from pranios, but wild animals can still come after you at night, even if you have a torch. So therefore, you're still Mesirim Mechayram and Alistim, also bandits. You don't know which way to go. Once it's already light, now it's the next day. Nitzel Mechayram and Halistim. Bandits come out at night. Wild animals come out at night. Once you get to the Parshas Drachim, once you get to the crossroads, then you are completely spared because you know exactly where you're going and everything is fine. So on this, Rashi explains, if you didn't separate from Torah, then you're safe from everything. Davaracher, Avera mechaba mitzvah. That an Avera can extinguish a mitzvah. And Avera mechaba Torah. However, cannot extinguish Torah. So the schar of a mitzvah could be extinguished by an Avera. However, it cannot extinguish someone who's Isaac in Torah. So says Rashi, Alma mitzvah, magana kol high. So we see a mitzvah doesn't protect so much. So what was this schus that she has? A lot of water is not able to extinguish love, which love is referring to Torah. As the pasuk says in Shir Shirim, Havieni Elbeis Hayoyin V'Tigol Ahava Yain Soid. So it's referring to Torah. Torah is the ultimate level of Ava. Rabbi Yosef, so Rabbi Yosef, mitzvah in. So that this is the question: how does it protect her? So Rabbi Yosef says, "Well, oilam really," says Rashi, Magina ali Yisurin harbe. It will mitzvahs will protect you from a lot of Yisurin. Umay in Magina. So what does it mean that it doesn't protect you? The Tanakama says, Min hachet shoyis kafendu Yetzirah kaimer. That's not going to protect you from the desires of Yetzirah. Mitzvah, but in the asik, but while you're oisik in the mitzvah, that's a temporary thing. Meganam atzla, it saves you. But in the doli asik ball, when you're not doing a mitzvah, agunim magna atzulu matzla. So it will protect you, but it won't save you from these desires. Says Rashi, agunim megana means pranyos. Atzulu matzala was not going to save you from, again, the desires of the Yitzhahara. Torah, ben be'inna de'asik ba, ben be'inna de'lo'asik ba, megana matzila. Torah is so powerful that it has an effect on you, not just while you're learning, but even when you're not learning. It's hard to understand. In which we learned about that they were both did a lot of terrible things. Doeg, among numerous things, working to hand in hand with Shaul. He ended up killing out Noivir Kohanim. He wanted to kill Doeg wanted to kill David. Achitophel also was rebellious in this fashion. So it doesn't make sense. If you tell me that Torah protects you, so then how do we have Rishayim? How many people that learn Torah and they do Averos? Rabbi says this: Torah in the asik ba megan matzla. While you're learning Torah, it does have an effect. While you're not learning, it'll protect you from pranyos, but it will not save you from your Yitzhahara. And that's the reason why Doeg and Achitophel was shaykh by them to do the wrong thing. Mitzvah ben be'inna the asik ba ben be'inna the lo asik ba aguni megana atzulu matzala. However, when it comes to a mitzvah, whether you're doing the mitzvah or not doing the mitzvah, it will at least protect you from pranios, but it will not save you from the future, from doing an avera. So what do we see? This is actually an answer. The answer is that we see that Torah obviously is stronger because it's able to protect you while you're oisik ba. When it comes to a mitzvah, not, but at least a mitzvah at the time that you did a mitzvah, even when you didn't do the mitzvah, it's still going to be aguni magno. And therefore, because of that, that's why the Sotah could have the schus of mitzvahs. What do you mean? She's not mechuyev b'davar. So then how could she get this schus? So he davkudil mifkad. I understand that she is not commanded. The fact that there's a reward that she has her children learn Torah. And she waits for her husband until he goes to the base medrash and comes back. Milo palgan bahadayu. Isn't it like divided up among them? So, because of her connection to those who are Matsuva B'Yaisa, namely her husband and her children, who ultimately are Mechuy, the sons of the Torah and Torah, so therefore because of that schos saves her. So this is the notion that Torah is nitzchias. So if you attach yourself to life, so then it's not easy for you to be broken off from life. And that's why there's this delay. Okay. So that's the second teretz. So my parshas Drachim. What does it mean that he's waiting at the crossroads? So Rav Chisda, Zet Talmud Chacham v'Yoim Misa. This is referring to a Talmud Chacham at his Yomi Misa. Says Rashi, Mahu Medamel Hagil Parshas Drachim Dehavuka, the Torah Hainu Mitzvah, Amud Hashachar Hainu Torah. So I understood those elements. The Torah is mitzvah, and the Hashachar is Torah. So what is Parshas Drachim? So that's Yom HaMisa. Says Rashi, Yom HaMisa v'hu Talmud Chacham b'yom Maisai. If you're a Talmud Chacham at the day of your death, v'yada shel pirash lifraik me'elav ol Torah. It's known that you did not separate from the oil of Torah, and therefore then you should have a higher level of confidence because you continued in your learning. It's not enough to be a Talmud Chacham, but you also have to have Yiras Chet. Then you'll be Zoiche, and you'll be saved from everything. Dafka that. It says Rashi, Yiras Chet moinim molir doif achri yitzroi. Yiras Chet causes you to separate from wanting to do an Avera. So it's almost like possibly we can learn this pshat that the Talmud Chacham Torah protects you from pranyos, and then you have the Yiras Chet, which prevents you from doing future Averas. Mar Zutra Omer Zed Talmud Chacham Desalkale Shmaisa Aliba de Hilchasa. This is talking about Talmud Chacham that was able to reach the final matter on this matter. Says on halacha. Says Rashi, V'acha Kamrola. Amud HaShachar, once Amud HaShachar comes up, Nitzel min hachaya, he's saved from wild animals. Zachla Taira, Nitzel mi'etzahara, min achet. V'yadayin en yodeh be'ezeh derech mahalech. He doesn't know which way to go. Im yizke, k'sheyesuma min hashamayim, liskabel devar ben chaver, horis kahalacha, k'mishpat hagia, parshat drach, and k'lomar zachla kach nitzel mekuam. He doesn't know which way to go. It means, do we pass like him? Do we pass like him? So once he reaches Parshas Drachim, which means now there's clarity as to what the psak should be, so that is the outcome. Davar achar avera machava mitzvah. An avera can extinguish a mitzvah. Ve'an avera machava Torah. Amar Rabbi Yosef, Darshi Rabbi Nachman Rabbi Yosef l'haikra ki Sinai. He used to darshan this as great as like Har Sinai. V'ilmole darshua daig v'achi taifel hachi lo rodfu basar David. If it would have been that daig and achi taifel darshan, they would have learned a shtickle better, then they wouldn't have run after David to try to kill him. D'chsev leimar alkim azavai b'goymer my darish v'lo yir b'chayir bas davar b'goymer. It says a person shouldn't have an erev davar. Hein en yodim shavera machaba mitzvah. They didn't realize that the Avera could extinguish a mitzvah. They in Avera machaba Torah. However, the Avera cannot extinguish Torah. Says Rashi. Lo yirabacha so lema elokim azavu kach hayu oimer malav elokim azvu Hashem forsake shabal eishes ish ve'ein anu nenashim alav. Because he was boiled with Bat-Sheva, so therefore we have the ability to attack him. So they didn't realize that it's true that when it comes to an Avera, it is Machaba Mitzvah, but it's not going to be Machaba Torah, and therefore David HaMelech, who is Torah, so his schus remains. Question 3. Ma darsha doig v'achitayfel the sever she'enu nanashim al redivas David ma nelo mehem. So the answer is they pursued after David because they saw lo yira b'chal erev davar v'shal me'acharecha ha'im yira v'shal me'acharecha. However, otherwise Hashem is going to turn away from him. V'nelo mehem the aver machaba mitzvah in aver machaba Torah. But because David HaMelech is someone who embodied Torah, so therefore because of that, David was spared. Fine. Okay, before we go weiter, let's look at TA1. Schus toila. Eiz schus yesh l'nashim shetoila hen. So what is the schus that women have? So TA1. TA1. Either it's referring to the schus mitzvah, because schus mitzvah it it does protect. Or schus Torah, because the Makam Masim Benayu Benatim Begavrayu, because they do support their husbands and children in learning Torah. Okay. Weiter. Okay, let's continue. What does the pasuk mean? Shir Shirim boys yavuzuloi, that he will basically will take from them. He will despise them. So Omer Ula lo kishimin achi Azaria v'lo kishim Rav Yochanan debei Nasiya el kehillel. That you should be like that of Hillel. What were these people? El kehillel v'shavna, like Hillel and his brother. The Chiyas Rav Dimi Omer Hillel v'shavna achi havi. They were brothers. Hillel asik b'Torah. However, Shavna Avadiska, Shavna just continued working. He didn't support him at first. Well, sorry for Armalei once he saw his brother Hillel was a chashav guy, he says, Narev Niflig, let's split everything up. We'll split up the schus of your Torah. Yatzabasko v'amra. On this, the pasuk says, Im yitin ishas kol hain beis of a geimer. He didn't want to take money and lose part of his schar. So too over here, that at that point it's too late. Says Rashi, Tanahu b'Mishnah. So Shimon Achi Azario is a Tana b'Mishnah Kamaisa d'Zvachim. V'Lama Torah al Yidei Achiv. He used to learn Torah through his brother. Shai Oyisik b'Prakmatya. His brother was busy doing business. Kadei Shiachluk b'Schus Lemudo. In order that he should be part of the schus of his brother Shimon. L'Kachu Nikra al Shem Azari Achiv. That's why he's called Azari, your brother. V'chein Rav Yochanan. So when it came to Rav Yochanan, we find the same thing. That Rav Yochanan, Debei Nasiya, Lomad al Yidei Hanasi, Shahei Mafarnasai. So the Nasi was Mafarnes Rav Yochanan. However, Hillel, he learned Torah even though he was poor. His brother didn't help him at all, as we saw in the famous Gemara Masechtas Yoma, Daf Lamed Hey. So in that situation, it's too late for his brother to step up and to intervene and to say, okay, now let's split up our schus, your schus of Torah, let's split it up, and now I'll support you. It's too late for that. Right, as we continue, Chafal Beis. Omer ben Azay Chayv Adam Limoides Bito, you have to teach your daughter Torah. Rabbi Lezer Omer Kol Melamed Bito Torah Melamda Tiflus. It's like you're teaching her foolishness or to be engaged in licentiousness. So Tiflus Agadatach El Ema Ki'ulam de Tiflus. Why? So, as we said, the whole notion is if she's learning Torah and she becomes knowledgeable in the dinim of Sotah, that sometimes you can drink this Sotah, but it will not punish you right away, but there'll be a delayed punishment. So it could be a good thing because she'll realize that the reason why this person wasn't punished is not because she was innocent, but maybe because of the schus that she has. Which again, it teaches the importance of teaching your children the reward. That if you, this is what it's saying, you could teach your daughter Torah so that she recognizes the power of what Torah has the ability to do. So what's Tiflus? Tiflus is that maybe Pumfakert, she'll say, you know what, this shows that a woman could possibly engage in Eishasish, and she's not going to end up getting really caught for it. So it could be a way of a loophole. So you could learn Torah, you could teach Torah, and you can learn it in a way to be able to elevate yourself or to find loopholes in the world. Amar Bavo, my time ani chachma shechanti arma, that I with wisdom lie down naked. Kivan shenichnas chachma ba'adam, once wisdom enters into your mind, nichnas imo armumis. Sometimes trickery also can take place. So it all depends on why you're learning. If you're learning in order to elevate yourself, that's one thing. But Torah can also come, and knowledge can make you engage in trickery. Like a person who doesn't know anything about taxes, you don't have an accountant, so you have to pay your taxes. But if you know all the laws and all the loopholes, all of a sudden you can get away with things. It's like that with everything. If you have a good lawyer, so he can get you out of things. So knowledge is power, and it can be used in a very positive, straight, great way, or in a negative way. So this is what this is saying. You could teach your daughter Torah, and it's a great thing, and it'll protect her, and it will strengthen her connection to Hashem, or it can be misused. So it all depends on your approach. Rabbanan hayani chachma may avidle. Now again, when it comes to a son, can he also engage in trickery? Yes, but the Torah's commands that the father must teach his son Torah. So it's not up to you to decide whether or not you should or shouldn't. Even if the son unfortunately misuses the Torah that you teach, you're mechuyev to teach it to him. When it comes to a daughter, she's an enemus of v'yosa. So therefore the question is, since you're not obligated to teach Torah, is it better to teach them Torah or not to teach them Torah? Is it good to be educated, or is it good sometimes not to have so much an education and you just live out of faith? Rabbanan hayani chachma mayavadalei meboyle Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Chanina Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Chanina endi b'Torah miskayamin el memi shemaimid atzmu oram olehen. The Torah will only be miskayim someone that literally is who stands upon himself oram olehen, like naked upon it. What does that mean? Says Rashi, shemaimid atzmu oram shepirish mikol asakim, that you separate yourself from all matters. V'nasale oni v'chayser kol, and you make yourself like you're poor. In other words, you don't consume your life with so many other matters, and then if you do, then it's going to be too hard for you to be able to focus on the success that you have. Lashon Acher, says Rashi, Shemei Shematzim Aram Aleha Garsinan Shemeirim Sheskayim Taira Likvoitz Al Yad V'Limuid Mikol Adam. That basically you kind of fool yourself in a way to be mekayim the Torah by gathering up, by learning from all people. Question 4. So ma pirish aimer ein divrei Torah miskayim el mami shemayim atzmo orum. So one is shepoyerish mikol asakim, you separate from all matters, and also of ani b'chayser kol, or shemeirim, that you engage in trickery, kadesh tiskayim tarasai, that you should be able to be mekayim the Torah, likmoitz, to gather al yad v'limleid mikol adam, and to learn from all people. So it's almost like you should imagine that you are so lacking. You should feel like you're arum, that you have nothing, even though you may be very smart. But someone who is interested in growing in Torah is always acts as though he is missing. He's constantly lacking, which means he has a continuous thirst to want to learn more and more. Shnemer ani chachma shechanti arma. Chachma lies in someone who has nothing. That's how it is, because that's the reality. If you are lacking, if you feel that you're lacking, then you're going to wish to pursue wisdom. Only someone who makes themselves as if they're not. The chachma comes from someone who doesn't have. So again, that's the whole notion, that if you feel self-confident that you have everything, or if you really do have everything, then you're not going to be wishing to pursue something. So you need to have a thirst. You have to have a hunger continuously. And sometimes you have to be an aurum. You have to trick yourself to be able to say, I got to do this, because even though it's not true, like, what do you mean? I'm pretty smart right now. But you have to say to yourself, no, I'm aurum. I'm missing. I'm naked. I have nothing. And even if you do, but it's a form of trickery to be able to make yourself think that you really need more. And that's really, the people who succeed have this constant thirst. They're never satisfied. A Talmid Chacham has no menucha. Doesn't mean that has no rest and therefore lives a sad life. It means that he's constantly pushing forward to the next goal, And once he accomplishes one goal, he moves on to the next one, Machayil L'chaim. Rabbi Yeshua Omer Rotza Isha V'chul. My Kamer Hachakamer Rotza Isha B'kav B'tiflus Imoi Metishas Kavan Uprishus, which we explained before, that if a woman, says Rashi, Chfetza Lizain B'mezainis Muatin, she'd rather have a small amount of food, the Tiflusa Matzu Lo B'tashmish, that she should be intimate with her husband. Her husband should be around. Mites Kabin Uprishus Lifresh Minatiflus, that if instead she could have a lot of food, a lot of money, a lot of comfort, but her husband's never around, she would rather have the intimacy. Lafikach ein toim shetilmoid Torah. That's why it's not good to learn Torah. So Torah is an interesting thing, because Torah, in a certain element, is being arum, is being like alone, is the element, and this is brought down in many other Chazal, Mishemeimis as atzmai. You have to almost you have to separate yourself. You have to be engaged in precious to be able to be successful. If you're constantly engaged in social matters, then you're going to be less likely to succeed in learning Torah. You need to be someone that is able to cut off all other distractions around you, and you're only on focus mode of one particular thing, laser beam focus, and that's how a person is able to succeed. However, a woman would rather have tiflus. It doesn't mean foolishness. It means an emotional or real connection to a person, because women in general are more people oriented, and that's why we often find that men, not always, but a lot of times there's a higher degree, at least in 2023, that men gravitate towards the STEM fields, because it's more about fascination toward things, and women have more of a fascination and connection to people, which is why they're nurses and teachers and not as much in the STEM fields. Doesn't mean that a woman can't do that. Doesn't mean a man can't do that. But this is the general nature of one of the many differences between a man and a woman, in that we see historically. And therefore, a woman, her element is tiflus, which means connecting. And a man is more precious. A man typically could just live by himself. A woman has more of a connection and is more of a social being, which is why they are engaged in a lot of conversation, and men could just be sitting alone, which is not a good thing either. But it just shows, like, on the opposite sides of the pendulum, this is how things are. Hu haya oimer chassid shaita hu. So heich never chassid shaita. What's a chassid shaita? Kegayin de katavi isa sabanahar. You see a woman she's drowning in the water. This is not proper with staluki ba v'atzula, for me to look at her and to save her. So you're being a chassid because you really want to separate yourself from an avera by being next to a woman, but most certainly it's also you're a shaita, you're being foolish, because this person is dying and you should save their life. Heichadam Yerusha Oram. Rav Yochanan zeh shematim devarav l'dayan. Someone who presents his case to a judge, kadim she'eva bal din chaveroi, before the other party has the opportunity to be able to do so. It's interesting, matim, to taste. Says Rashi, that once you give the dayan in his mind the first thoughts, so then it's going to be hard for him to be able to remove it, and therefore that's a form of trickery. Our musay v'rashahu sha'ayver al l'sisa shem l'shav. So that's one answer. This, you give him, you know that he has $199, you give him an extra $1. So why do you give him $1? You know the guy's poor. Once you gave him the $200, he can't collect tzedakah anymore. Once you have the 200, if you have 199, if you have even 1,000 nice low. So if you have 199, the next person can give 1,000. and that'll be okay because he was under the 200 threshold. But you're a Russia, but you're doing it in a crafty way. You're acting like, no, I'm giving tzedakah, but you're only giving him the bare minimum so he could survive, so he won't collect anymore. But you're not doing it because you really care about this person. Because if you really cared about this person, giving him $1,000. So you're giving tzedakah just so that he'll stop collecting. Rabbi Asi Omer, Rabbi Yochanan Zeh Hamasi Eitz Limchom Nechasim Muatim. This is a person who advises the boys to sell their assets when there's not much. There's only Nechasim Muatim. That if they would do such a thing, it would be a good sale, says Rashi. The Gemara Baba Basra says, Mishames, person dies, he has sons and daughters. If they have a lot of assets, so Abanim Yershu, so the Banim, the boys get all the Yerusha, but Babanas Zainu. The girls will get Mazonos, which is a substantial amount as well. Nechasim Muatim, if there's not a lot to go around, Habanoi Sizanu, only the girls will get the Mazonos. Habanim Yishal B'sachim, and the boys have to collect on the doors. However, if let's say they would have sold, says Rashi, Kodim Shabo Habanoi Silbastin, before the daughters went to Bastin, then Midim Bastin Nechasim B'cheskes Banois, before it was put into the Chazaka that it belongs to the daughters, and they sold it, it would be a good sale. So this is, again, like a crafty way of being able for the boys to be able to get what they want by utilizing these halakhic loopholes, but it'll end up hurting these women. Similarly, someone who gives advice, but similar to the din of Rav Shimon Gamliel, the Sanya. If I say my possessions are to you and only to you, and after you die, it'll go to a different person. The Yard Harishon, so this first person came who, again, the possessions are only yours, but then after you die, it goes to another person, and it was sold and it's consumed. So Hasheni, the second person who was supposed to be able to collect after the other guy died, Divrei Rabbi. So Rabbi says that since he had no right to sell it, so therefore he's allowed to take it from the Lekuchais, because it was only supposed to go to you, and after you could use it, but after you die, then it goes to the other person, so you had no right to sell it. Hashem Will says not so fast. The second person only gets what's left over by the first, and therefore, if you tell them sell it, even though you're not really supposed to sell it, but consume it all, so there'll be nothing left. So therefore, again, there'll be nothing for him to collect. Rav Yossi bar Chamo Eimer Rav Shesha Zeh Machriya Cherim Bar Chaysav. Says Rashi, Ra'uva Asu Kamaini L'chug B'derachai. A person says you should be like me, do like me, act like me. L'nischavin Zeh El L'haris Atzma Kachosid. Be'eni Habriyais. He's only doing it to try to act like he is a very important person. But his insides are impure. El Shalo Yadatik Acharav Livdaik B'Toavayisav. Rab Zreika Omer Rav Huna Zeh Hamekel Atzmoi Umachmel Acherim. So he acts like a big chassid, acts like a big tzaddik, but he's really a rasha because he's makel for himself, but he does it in a trickery way. So he acts like he's so important because he makes everyone else do all these strict laws, but he himself is very lenient. Ul Omer Zez, we continue Chapez Manalav. Someone who may learn the Chumash, may learn a lot of Mishnayos, but he's not Shimish Tam Chacham, says Rashi. Wilmoid Svarsa Gemara Batami Hamishna Mahim. Doesn't learn Gemara. Rashahu. Shein Tarasoi Bruya Be'en Limud Himena. Sha'adi Hatamim Yesh Chiluk Be'is Veheter V'din Mamnas Chus Chayv Taras Tamil and Tahar Kinemer Bekama Duchti my time Omer Marhachi, why did he say this? Or Marhachi be Omer Ma Binayu, what's the difference between them? Ikabinayu, this is the difference. Kach Lakach. But Oro, who he's like craft me or naked, Shashomeas Kailei Shaina Mishnayaisav. He knows the Mishnayos, Kazavar who Shabaki Batameim, because he knows Chumash, he knows Mishnah, so he's able to quote a lot of things. However, he acts like he's a big Talmud Chacham, but the truth is he's not a Talmud Chacham because he didn't learn Gemara. And TB2, which we did, is the same question as question 4, which again is, what does it mean that Torah is only mimi shemaimid atzmo oram? So someone who is separates from business and he makes himself like poor and he's missing, or again she's marim kedei l'kaim tarasai likboitz al yad v'lilmoid mikol adam. You learn to all people. Ad kan.